The room filled with applause as Caroline concluded her speech. She felt a sense of fulfillment and hope, knowing that her message had reached so many. After the event, she mingled with the attendees, engaging in meaningful conversations and hearing their stories. The connections she made reinforced her belief in the power of community and shared purpose. Caroline's journey had come full circle, but it was far from over. She continued to work tirelessly, collaborating with media organizations, participating in educational programs, and advocating for ethical journalism. The challenges persisted, but her resolve was unwavering. For everyone following her story, Caroline's journey was a testament to the impact one person can make by standing up for the truth. She inspired others to take action, to be vigilant, and to prioritize integrity in their own lives. As she looked toward the future, Caroline knew that the fight for honest journalism was ongoing. She was ready to face it head-on, with the support of those who believed in her mission. For those who want to stay updated on Caroline's journey and join the movement for truth in media, subscribe to her newsletter and follow her on social media. Together we can make a difference. Subscribe now and be part of the change. Thank you for being here today and for your commitment to a better, more truthful world. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows on the streets of Los Angeles, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson found himself feeling the weight of exhaustion from a relentless day on set. He slid into the backseat of his car, eager for the comfort of his home. Tonight he had a new driver, a quiet man named Mark. From the moment Dwayne closed the car door, he sensed something different about him. There was a profound silence, and the faint scent of old leather and musty air caught his attention. Dwayne, always one for engaging conversation, broke the silence with a casual, "So, how's your night going?" Mark's response was polite yet reserved, his eyes focused on the road ahead. As they weaved through the city streets, Dwayne couldn't help but notice the weariness etched on Mark's face, the kind that goes beyond physical tiredness. It intrigued him. "So, how long have you been driving?" Dwayne asked, his curiosity piqued. Mark hesitated before answering. "A few months now. It's been an interesting ride." The choice of words and the slight catch in his voice hinted at a deeper story. Dwayne, sensing an opportunity to connect, gently probed further. "Interesting how?" he asked with genuine interest. Mark glanced at Dwayne in the rearview mirror, weighing whether to share more. After a moment of silence, he took a deep breath and began, "I lost my job last year. It was a tough time. I couldn't keep up with the bills and eventually lost my home. Been living in my car ever since." The words hung heavy in the air, and Dwayne felt a wave of shock and empathy wash over him. Here was a man who, despite his struggles, showed up every day, putting on a brave face. "Man, I had no idea," Dwayne said softly, his voice filled with sincerity. "That must be incredibly tough." Mark nodded, his eyes betraying a mixture of pride and vulnerability. "It is, but I'm getting by," he replied, trying to downplay his situation. Dwayne couldn't shake the feeling of wanting to help. He knew this wasn't just a fleeting encounter. It was a moment that demanded action. As they continued their journey, Dwayne made a silent vow to himself. He wouldn't just be another passenger in Mark's car. He would find a way to make a real difference in this man's life. The journey home had turned into something much more significant, a journey of compassion and a newfound purpose. The car ride continued in a contemplative silence, the city lights flickering past the windows. Dwayne's mind was racing, trying to comprehend the hardships Mark had faced. He couldn't help but wonder how a man like Mark ended up in such a situation. As if reading his thoughts, Mark began to share his story. "I used to be a high school teacher," Mark started, his voice tinged with nostalgia. "I loved my job, loved the kids. Teaching was my passion. But then, the school faced budget cuts, and I was one of the unlucky ones to be let go. It was a tough blow, but I thought I could bounce back." Mark's eyes briefly met Dwayne's in the rearview mirror before returning to the road. Dwayne listened intently, feeling the weight of each word. Mark continued, "I tried to find another teaching job, but the market was tough. I did odd jobs here and there to make ends meet, but it was never enough. And then, my wife, she got sick. We spent all our savings on her treatment, but it wasn't enough. She passed away last year." Mark's voice cracked, and Dwayne felt a lump form in his throat. "I'm so sorry, Mark," Dwayne said sincerely. He knew words could hardly console the pain of such a loss, but he wanted Mark to know he cared. Mark nodded, appreciating the sentiment. "After she passed, everything fell apart. I couldn't keep up with the rent, and eventually I lost our home. I've been living in my car ever since, trying to find a way back on my feet." Mark's story was a stark reminder of how quickly life could take unexpected turns. Dwayne felt a deep sense of empathy for the man sitting in front of him. a man who had once dedicated his life to educating and nurturing young minds, now struggling to survive. He couldn't shake the image of Mark sleeping in his car, trying to find warmth and safety in such an unforgiving situation. As they neared Dwayne's house, he made a silent promise to himself. Mark's story wasn't just another tale of hardship, it was a call to action. Dwayne knew he had the means and the platform to make a difference, and he was determined to help Mark find his way back to a stable and fulfilling life. The ride home had revealed a story of resilience, heartbreak, and an unwavering spirit, and Dwayne was committed to being a part of Mark's journey to recovery. As they pulled up to Dwayne's home, he couldn't shake the image of Mark's weary face and the weight of his story. Dwayne stepped out of the car, feeling a surge of determination. He knew he had to do something to help Mark, but he also recognized that this was a delicate situation. Mark's pride and dignity were at stake, and Dwayne wanted to approach the matter with genuine care and respect. Later that night, as Dwayne settled into his evening routine, he found himself unable to focus on anything else. Mark's story replayed in his mind, and the sense of urgency grew stronger. Dwayne reflected on his own journey, the people who had supported him, and the opportunities he had been given. He realized that he was in a unique position to make a real difference in Mark's life. The next morning, Dwayne reached out to his team. He explained Mark's situation and asked for their assistance in finding a solution. His team, moved by Dwayne's compassion and determination, quickly sprang into action. They began researching housing options, employment opportunities, and support services that could help Mark get back on his feet. Dwayne knew that this wasn't just about providing temporary relief. It was about offering a long-term solution that would restore Mark's sense of stability and purpose. He wanted to ensure that Mark had the resources and support he needed to rebuild his life. Later that day, Dwayne arranged to meet Mark at a local cafe. As they sat down with their coffees, Dwayne shared his thoughts and plans with Mark. "I know things have been tough for you, Mark," Dwayne began, his tone sincere and empathetic. "But I want to help. I've talked to some people, and we have a plan to get you back on your feet. This isn't charity. It's a chance for you to rebuild and find your way again." Mark listened, his eyes filled with a mix of hope and uncertainty. "I appreciate the offer, Dwayne," he said softly, "but I don't want to be a burden. I've always tried to handle things on my own." Dwayne reached across the table, placing a reassuring hand on Mark's shoulder. "You're not a burden, Mark. We all need a little help sometimes. Let me do this for you. You've given so much to others as a teacher. Now it's time for us to give back to you." With a heavy sigh, Mark nodded, a glimmer of hope returning to his eyes. "All right, Dwayne. Thank you. I don't know how to repay you, but I promise I'll make the most of this opportunity." Dwayne smiled, knowing that this was just the beginning of a new chapter for Mark. He was determined to see this through and help Mark regain the life he deserved. Dwayne's team got to work quickly, lining up appointments and gathering resources. They started with finding a suitable housing organization that could provide immediate shelter and assistance for Mark. Dwayne made sure every detail was taken care of, from the initial contact to arranging a meeting with a housing specialist who understood the urgency of the situation. When the day arrived, Dwayne picked up Mark in his car. Mark was visibly nervous, his hands fidgeting as they drove. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, his voice tinged with anxiety. Dwayne offered him a reassuring smile. "Absolutely, Mark. We're in this together." They arrived at the housing organization, a welcoming place dedicated to helping individuals find stability. The specialist, a compassionate woman named Linda, greeted them warmly. She sat down with Mark, listening to his story with genuine interest and empathy. Dwayne watched as Mark opened up, sharing the details of his struggles and the toll it had taken on him. Linda outlined a plan for Mark, starting with temporary housing that could eventually lead to a more permanent solution. She explained the various support services available, from counseling to job placement assistance. Mark listened intently, a glimmer of hope beginning to spark in his eyes. Dwayne observed the interaction, feeling a sense of relief. This was the first step in helping Mark regain his footing. As they left the organization, Mark's demeanor had shifted. There was a newfound sense of purpose in his stride, a weight lifting off his shoulders. Next on the list was addressing Mark's employment situation. Dwayne knew that finding meaningful work was crucial for Mark's self-esteem and financial stability. He reached out to his network, seeking opportunities that aligned with Mark's skills and interests. One of Dwayne's contacts, a friend who owned a local community center, expressed interest in hiring Mark as an educational coordinator. The role involved organizing programs for children and adults, a perfect fit for someone with Mark's teaching background. Dwayne arranged a meeting between Mark and the community center's director. During the meeting, Mark's passion for education shone through. He spoke about his teaching experiences and his desire to make a positive impact. The director was impressed, and by the end of the meeting, Mark was offered the position. The smile that spread across Mark's face was a testament to the significance of this opportunity. As they drove back, Mark was overwhelmed with gratitude. "I don't know how to thank you, Dwayne," he said, his voice filled with emotion. Dwayne shook his head. "You don't have to thank me, Mark. Just promise to pay it forward someday." With housing and a new job secured, Mark's life was beginning to take a turn for the better. Dwayne felt a sense of fulfillment, knowing that together, they had taken significant steps toward transforming Mark's life. Over the next few days, Mark found himself in a whirlwind of activity. Moving into his new home was the first big step. Dwayne was there, helping him carry boxes and set up furniture. They shared stories and laughter as they transformed the empty space into a cozy, welcoming home. Mark couldn't remember the last time he had felt such warmth and support. One evening, as they sat on the couch, exhausted but happy, Dwayne turned to Mark and said, "Tomorrow's a big day. Ready to start your new job?" Mark nodded, a mix of excitement and nervousness in his eyes. "I'm ready," he replied, determined to make the most of the opportunity. The next morning, Dwayne accompanied Mark to the community center. The director, Mr. Thompson, greeted them warmly and showed Mark around. Mark's eyes lit up as he saw the classrooms and the bustling activity. It reminded him of his days as a teacher, and he felt a renewed sense of purpose. Mark's first day was filled with introductions and training. He quickly settled into his role, organizing programs and interacting with the community. Dwayne checked in on him throughout the day, offering words of encouragement. By the end of the day, Mark was exhausted but filled with a sense of accomplishment. That evening, Dwayne and Mark met for dinner to celebrate. "I'm proud of you, Mark," Dwayne said, raising his glass. "You've come a long way." Mark smiled, feeling a surge of gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without you, Dwayne. Thank you for believing in me." As the days turned into weeks, Mark continued to thrive in his new role. He built connections with the community and saw the positive impact of his work. He also started attending counseling sessions to address the emotional toll of the past year. Dwayne made sure Mark had the support he needed, checking in regularly and offering a listening ear. One afternoon, as Mark was leaving the community center, a young boy approached him. "Mr. Mark, you're a great teacher," the boy said, handing him a drawing. Mark's eyes welled up with tears as he looked at the picture. It was a simple drawing of Mark standing in front of a classroom, surrounded by happy children. "Thank you," Mark said, his voice choked with emotion. That moment marked a turning point for Mark. He realized that he had not only regained his sense of purpose, but had also found a new community that valued and appreciated him. He was no longer defined by his past struggles, but by his strength and resilience. Dwayne watched from the sidelines, filled with pride. Helping Mark had been a journey of compassion and humanity, and it had made a lasting impact on both their lives. They had formed a bond that went beyond a simple act of kindness. It was a testament to the power of hope and the difference one person could make. Mark's new beginning was a whirlwind of changes, each step bringing him closer to a life he had once only dreamed of. With Dwayne's help, his new home felt like a true sanctuary. They spent weekends shopping for furniture and decorations, making sure every piece reflected Mark's personality and needs. The once empty space soon blossomed into a warm, inviting place where Mark could finally rest and rebuild. One evening, as Dwayne helped Mark hang up some framed photos, he noticed a picture of Mark and his late wife. "She looks lovely," Dwayne said softly, handing the frame to Mark. Mark's eyes filled with tears as he held the photo, his fingers tracing the edges of the frame. "She was my rock," he replied, his voice heavy with emotion. "I promised her I'd keep going, no matter what." Dwayne nodded, understanding the depth of that promise. "And you are, Mark. You're doing it. She'd be proud of you." Mark smiled, a bittersweet expression that spoke volumes. He placed the photo on the mantel, a tribute to the love and strength that had carried him this far. With his home now a place of comfort, Mark focused on his new job at the community center. Each day was filled with purpose and joy. He reconnected with his passion for teaching, seeing the impact he could make on the lives of those around him. The community quickly grew fond of him, appreciating his dedication and genuine care. One afternoon, as Mark was wrapping up a class, he saw a familiar face waiting by the door. It was Dwayne, stopping by to check in. "Hey, Mark! How's it going?" Dwayne greeted him with a smile. Mark grinned, wiping his hands on his pants. "It's going great, Dwayne. I can't thank you enough for everything." Dwayne clapped him on the back. "You're doing all the hard work, man. I'm just here to support you." They chatted for a while, discussing the new programs Mark had implemented and the positive feedback from the community. Dwayne felt a deep sense of pride seeing how far Mark had come. In the evenings, Mark began volunteering at local shelters, sharing his story with others who were struggling. His journey from homelessness to stability inspired many, and his willingness to give back resonated deeply with those he helped. Dwayne occasionally joined him, witnessing firsthand the ripple effect of kindness and compassion. One night, after a long day of volunteering, Mark and Dwayne sat on the steps of the shelter, watching the city lights twinkle in the distance. "You know, Dwayne," Mark said, his voice thoughtful, "I used to feel so lost, but now I see that there's always hope, as long as there are people willing to help each other." Dwayne nodded, feeling a profound connection to the words. "Exactly, Mark. We're all in this together, and your story shows just how powerful that connection can be." They sat in comfortable silence, knowing that their journey of kindness and humanity had only just begun. Word of Mark's story spread quickly, and soon local news outlets picked up on the incredible transformation. Dwayne's involvement and Mark's resilience touched the hearts of many. The story of a man who had lost everything but found hope and redemption through the kindness of a stranger resonated deeply with people across the city. One evening, Dwayne received a call from a journalist who wanted to interview both him and Mark. They agreed, seeing it as an opportunity to raise awareness about homelessness and inspire others to take action. The interview took place at the community center, where Mark had become a well-known and beloved figure. As they sat down with the journalist, Dwayne and Mark shared their journey, from the initial car ride to the present day. Mark spoke about the struggles he had faced and how Dwayne's support had changed his life. Dwayne emphasized the importance of compassion and community, urging people to look out for those in need. The interview aired on local news, and the response was overwhelming. People from all walks of life reached out, wanting to help in any way they could. Donations poured into the community center, and volunteers signed up to support various programs. The story had sparked a wave of kindness that rippled through the city. Mark found himself at the center of this movement, using his experience to advocate for those facing similar struggles. He organized workshops and support groups, sharing his story and offering guidance to others. His journey from despair to hope became a beacon of inspiration for many. One afternoon, as Mark was leading a workshop, he noticed a familiar face in the audience. It was a former student, now an adult, who had recognized Mark from the news. The student approached Mark after the session, tears in his eyes. "Mr. Mark, you were my favorite teacher. I never forgot the lessons you taught me. Seeing you now, making such a difference, it's incredible." Mark felt a surge of pride and gratitude. He hugged his former student, feeling the weight of the journey they had both been on. It was a powerful reminder of the impact one person could have on the lives of others. Dwayne continued to support Mark, attending events and offering his platform to raise awareness. Their bond grew stronger, built on a foundation of trust, respect, and shared purpose. They knew that their work was far from over, but they were committed to making a lasting difference. As the movement grew, the city saw a tangible change. More resources were allocated to support those experiencing homelessness, and new initiatives were launched to address the root causes. The community rallied together, inspired by the story of Mark and Dwayne. One evening, as they sat on the steps of the community center, Mark turned to Dwayne and said, "We've come a long way, haven't we?" Dwayne smiled, nodding in agreement. "Yes, we have. And this is just the beginning. Together, we can make a real difference." Their journey was a testament to the power of kindness, resilience, and human connection. It showed that even in the darkest times, a single act of compassion could light the way to a brighter future. As time went on, the bond between Mark and Dwayne continued to deepen. They became more than just allies in a cause. They were friends who had shared a transformative journey. The community center thrived under Mark's dedication, becoming a beacon of hope for many. One day, as Dwayne visited the center, he saw Mark busy with a group of volunteers, organizing donations and planning upcoming events. The sense of purpose and fulfillment that radiated from Mark was undeniable. Dwayne couldn't help but feel a swell of pride and happiness as he watched the man who had once been on the brink of despair, now leading with confidence and compassion. Later that evening, they sat together, reflecting on the journey they had embarked on. "You know, Dwayne," Mark said, his voice filled with emotion, "I never imagined my life could turn around like this. You've given me more than just a second chance. You've given me a family and a purpose." Dwayne smiled, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. "I'm glad to hear that, Mark, but you did the hard work. You never gave up, even when things seemed impossible. That's something to be proud of." Mark nodded, a tear slipping down his cheek. "I couldn't have done it without you. Your kindness and support made all the difference. It's something I'll never forget." As the sun set, casting a warm glow over the city. They both knew that their story was just a small part of a much larger movement. They had witnessed firsthand the power of compassion and the incredible impact it could have on people's lives. Dwayne turned to Mark, his expression serious. There's still so much work to be done, Mark. There are so many others out there who need help just like you did. We have to keep pushing forward, spreading kindness and offering support. Mark nodded, his resolve strengthening. You're right, Dwayne. We can't stop now. We have to be the change we want to see in the world. Together, they continued their efforts, inspiring countless others to join the cause. The community grew stronger, united by a shared commitment to helping those in need. Mark's story became a symbol of hope, reminding everyone that even in the darkest times, there was always a way forward. As they looked out over the city, they knew that their journey was far from over. They had made a lasting impact, but there was always more to be done. And with each act of kindness, they were reminded of the incredible power of humanity. Let's all strive to be a beacon of hope and compassion in our communities. Reach out to those in need, offer support, and remember that a single act of kindness can change a life. Together, we can make the world a better place. Will you join us in spreading kindness and making a difference?